Dan, welcome to the Big Gunner Podcast. Well, so far so good. 2-0 in the preseason. Giants topple the Jets 31-12. Always nice to have the bragging rights in the city. But the real story, obviously, is Jackson Dart, 14 of 16, 137 yards. Looked fantastic. Just a couple comments related to the Dart idea of starting him at quarterback. Mike Tannenbaum has been on ESPN, mentioned this yesterday with Jeff DeForest on Burry Bookie, talking about how the Giants should make that move because it worked with him, with Mark Sanchez starting with the Jets, and they got to the championship game in his first 2 years with the Jets. Problem I have with that is Mike Tannenbaum was not worried for his job. The Jets were coming off a 9-7 season, and they had switched head coaches into Rex Ryan. Had a year without Brett Favre, first year without Brett Favre, drafted a quarterback. So there's a lot of positives for the Jets, top-notch defense leading into that season, especially with the 9-7 record. The Jets were close. So I just don't think it's the same situation. I think what we have here right now is Brian Dable coaching for his job, Joe Shane, GMing for his job. And I think they really have to put out the best opportunity to win. And with that, I believe that what I've seen in the first couple games, and I just believe in what Russell Wilson can do, I think you start off the season with Russell Wilson. And if it goes south, the confidence that you now have after watching Jackson Dart in 2 games is you can bring him right in. You feel like you're not taking a huge step back if things don't go well. But if things start going well and you have that veteran quarterback and you're winning games, I don't see the rush in getting Dart on the field, although he's looked pretty good in the first 2 games. The Wilson throw, deep ball throw to Bo Collins in the first quarter, leading to the Giants' initial touchdown, was just fantastic. Perfect, put on the mark, something the Giants have never had. Daniel Jones threw a low, flat, deep ball. Very rarely did you see him get the ball up in the jet stream like Rue Wilson did on that throw, which was just tremendous arm strength, veteran guy knowing where he was, and the receiver running the receiver right to the spot that he wanted him to go. Just a tremendous throw, and I just feel pretty confident that if we feel we get protection, that we're going to be okay with Russell Wilson, the quarterback, to start this season. But again, just like anything else, you just got to figure if it goes south, because the schedule's so tough, that you might want to see Jackson Dart. I feel that when the Giants are eliminated from the playoffs, I think you'll see Dart. I hope that doesn't happen, but I think as long as we're playing well, I think you'll see it. And again, with Winston, who's played well too, making throws, and love his confidence, love his locker room culture. You Giants have the best quarterback room we've seen since Eli Manning, maybe early Eli. This is really, I feel very comfortable with what we're seeing out of that position, which was, according to and what the Giants did personnel-wise, probably the biggest part of our collapse in the last couple of years. So feeling pretty good what Dable did. A lot of things we saw out of Jackson Dart was a quick style, pick up-tempo offense, which is what he ran at Mississippi. The comments are that Dart and Dable get along, and that Dable's listening to Dart, which I think in this day and age, the way the players are and what they know and how they're being coached on all levels, it's not a bad thing for the head coach not to be a dictator and be open to, listen to what his players have to say. I think it worked for Tom Coughlin in 2007 when he got off the military high horse and started listening and adhering to some demands of the players and just kind of broke it down to say what would work. And his adjustments obviously won him 2 Super Bowls. So I got zero problem. I used to not feel that way. I didn't like it when players stepped up in my generation. But now, today's world, listen to him and see what he got. Because if it looks like he's getting confidence playing under this style, it might be pretty good for teams to realize that we could bring in a guy, maybe even try it while things are going good, but give him a series. Why not? Let him try an up-tempo series and see what you get out of it. In a 21-0 game in the third quarter for winning, give it to him. Give him a snap. Give him a look at at certain times. But I think when in cleanup time or big wins or big losses, I think you'll see Dart sooner than Winston. Although I think earlier on in the season, if Russell Wilson were to go down the first couple of games, I think you might see Winston first. But that's just a thought. But I could be wrong. But what we've seen out of Jackson Dart is even better than I would have expected this early on. But I'm extremely pleased with what we're seeing. The passing was 27 of 38 for 398. Huge numbers against a pretty good Jet defense from what we understand over the last couple of years. I know Gardner didn't play. A lot of the starters didn't play. But still, this is when you have depth in your roster. This is where sex comes. But I thought all the quarterbacks are playing well, and I think it's a really good sign. 21 for 80 on the rushing, we average around 4 yards a carry. So we ran 59 plays and 2 sacks, 61 total. It's not bad. That's 89 pass plays and only 2 sacks in the first 2 games. That's saying a lot. If we ended up the season with 17 sacks allowed, I think we'd be probably pretty successful. And we've done this offensively without Andrew Thomas and Malik Neighbors, arguably our 2 best players offensively. So right now, you have to think what we're seeing out of our team is pretty good. So we don't want to, go crazy and jump to conclusions too fast. But right now, what I'm seeing, I kind of like. I'm not used to seeing this early. Another couple of young stars I think coming up is everybody's been worried about the Evan Neal transition to guard. Thought it was okay, getting a little better. A lot in practices and inter-squad joint practices with the Jets. He looked good. I thought he played okay. Had maybe 1 or 2 missed snaps, but I thought overall he was okay. Thought Josh Asudu showing signs of developing, playing well, playing at a guard, tackle, versatility, move around the line. Thought he's getting better. And they thought Marcus Bo has been fantastic. 5th-round pick, probably lower drafted. I thought he's played pretty well too. So I think what we're finding is we might get a little depth on this offensive line, maybe a chance to unseat Van Roten or start the season with him. And if things don't go right, we have guys that we can plug in. But probably the nicest surprise out of all this has been Turbo Miller, Dante Miller, Columbia player that ended up transferring to South Carolina for 1 year. So I got a really small look at him. He got hurt. He played a little bit, but big burst. You can see when he catches the ball. Looks good on receiving the ball out of the backfield. And I love the angles that he took. He had one really nice play where it was a 3rd and 6. And he, instead of look at a juke and go around, he turned the ball right upfield. And with his burst, he got right to the first down marker by a yard. Plays like that, keeping third down, winning on 3rd down, keeping drives going. Very important. So I really like what I'm seeing out of Turbo Miller to a point where I know we haven't seen Scadaboo yet. We don't know the severity of injury. But I think if Scadaboo is healthy, you might see Devin Singletary could be the odd man out now, which would be a salary cap type, move for us where we would free up some money in case we needed to make another move. So Devin Singletary, I think right now, it's going to be very interesting because he's a Brian Dable guy. Dable brought him in when he had him in Buffalo and liked him. So it's that's going to be very interesting to see what materializes. But right now, I would be okay with. So if Scadaboo is not healthy, I don't think I'd get rid of Singletary. But if we see a little bit out of Scadaboo against the Patriots and we feel he's right, because he's been so impressive in camp when he's been on the field, I kind of look at this like the running back room. It might be a casualty. Could be the veteran guy that we signed last year as a replacement to Barkley. Very interesting what's happening in the running back room. Dane Belton playing very well at safety, at 8 tackles. Deontay Johnson, I like from Toledo to maybe make it a roster spot in the at linebacker. So I think we're looking pretty good in our secondary. The Flott Banks matchup seems to be heating up still. Don't know who's going to get the starting second cornerback spot. The depth, I think, in the secondary looks pretty good too. And one thing I want to make reference to here, which I think is really important about the job that the front office and Joe Schoen has done. Other than Darian Beavers, Marcus McKeithen, and Jadavius Owens, out of the 24 picks that we've had in the last 3 years, only those 3 players are not on our roster. 21 of 24 players still drafted that we've drafted in the last 2 years are on our roster. Last 3 years under the Shane regime are on our roster. And right now, I think all 7 players in this draft, I think are going to make it. So to me, if you're drafting successfully, you can figure out a way to win, it's going to really help, the resume of Joe Schoen to say, look, all the guys you drafted are contributing. So if you go look at those stats, there's only 3 of those guys, which is very rare. If you go back in the history of the Giants and go back 3 drafts, I don't know that only 3 players from each time were on our roster. So to have 21 of 24 make it and be on the roster and look like probably are going to make the team at this point or close to it. Maybe DJ Davidson, Nursau. There's a couple guys that could be out. But overall, just keep an eye on that. That 21 of his 24 picks are actually in camp right now, which is a good sign. So That. Another real experiment I'm really enjoy watching is Elijah Chapman. So Elijah Chapman, the face mask breaker, I've heard that he's broken face masks and cracked face masks in the practices with his contact. I kind of like what I see out of him, making a fullback out of him. I know he's a DT, and I know he wants to pass rush third down, and had some success last year, and a little undersized guy. Go figure out a way to get another spot on the roster, make him a fullback in short yardage. I feel like with him and Scadaboo, I probably found a roster spot for Chapman now with a little contribution on the defensive line on pass rushing downs. You have a shot to see in the roster spot for Elijah Chapman, which I find very interesting. So that's another chance. So basically, we allowed 33 carries for 141 yards to the Jets. That's not a real good sign, but we didn't have Dexter Lawrence. So until we get Lawrence in the fold, I don't know if I can really take the numbers seriously. But I do think this team has to focus on stopping the run. I think hopefully the secondary will play well enough where we don't need to, we can play a little bit more man and concentrate a little bit more on the running game. But all these players, these good, nice edge guys, and we talk about what kind of front four we have, we're going to need the edge guys to force the run. I know Thibodeau looked very good doing so. A couple plays with Carter where he blew up a running play. He also got his welcome to the league when he got planted twice on the same play by a tight end chip, and then the tackle ran over him. We always say those welcome to the NFL moments, but again, you see the development. The talent's going to be there. A lot of positives. What we're seeing. Friends are calling me, telling me, "Hey, boy, your boys look good. Your boys look good." Well, we'll see. It's still preseason, which is what I always say. But again, really a great start so far. So this weekend we have a national game on Prime. Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit should do that game if they're still the combination. So get your pay-per-view out and get to see the Giants take on the Patriots, an up-and-coming team that actually is getting a lot of juice to come second in that division, maybe even challenge New England. So challenge Buffalo. I'm sorry. So some really interesting parts of what's going on with Big Blue right now. So we have a game Thursday, the last game, then 2 weeks, roster cuts. We're going to move around and see what we have. College football, first game of the year, Kansas State, Iowa State. Not for much here, but just take the dog on a neutral field, going to Ireland. K-State at -3 over Iowa State, kind of lean. We'll keep an eye on this game. Live bet it or something, have fun with it. But that's basically the game of the week in Dublin. So that'll be the big start to college football. Tonight, we got a couple games in Major League Baseball. Cardinals and Marlins. Cardinals getting 30. McGreevy, up-and-coming pitcher against Cabrera. Marlins blew an early 2-0 lead last night, lose 8-3. Kind of like the Cardinals in this spot. Mets and Nationals. Maybe the Mets wrote the ship going to Little League Park. Peterson and Irvin. Peterson struggled with control problems. Don't know that I would lay 189 with the Mets, but I won't be surprised if the Mets win. Dodgers, Rockies. Dodgers lose a rough game last night, 4-3. Gumber, who they've handled pretty well, and Sheehan, who struggled a little bit. Dodgers laying 259, just can't lay it. They're not sure I want the Rockies, so I think about it. Giants, Tang at Padres, Pavetta, lay 209 with the Padres. Boy, you got to think the Padres got to bounce back after giving up for the first time at Petco Park 3 home runs in the first inning. Get down 4-0, get back to 4-3. Again, the Padres pen might help them out here. Pavetta's been very successful, won a lot of games for San Diego. Big win percentage, just 209, just a little bit too much. Tigers and Astros, kind of like the under 7 there. Brown and Schoolball, 2 aces going at it. Total should be 6.5. I think you'll see it drop like the under 7. Orioles and Red Sox, Buehler and Sugano. Sugano had a really good start the last time out. Orioles have their number up there. Might like the Orioles plus 123. Yankees and the Rays. Yankees solve with a sweep of the Cardinals. I like Rodon over Boz today, lay 119. Rangers and Royals. Lugo and Kelly. Kelly, the acquisition from the Diamondbacks. Kind of like probably no play here. Royals won 4 in a row. Probably would pass. The A's and the Twins. Lopez has pitched very well against Ryan, their ace. Twins lay 134. Might take a flyer on Oakland there, plus 124. Blue Jays off a good start against Max Scherzer. And the Pirates lay 142 on the road. Lost Guerrero last night to an injury. Pulled out of the game. Might be of concern. Keller's pitched very well. Never got run support. Probably a pass on that or Pirates. Mariners, Phillies. You got Miller and Sanchez, the ace, 174. Phillies blow out the Mariners. Maybe this whole Little League thing, West East Coast trip, has been taking a little bit out of the Mariners. Don't know that I play that game. White Sox, Smith against Elder. I kind of like the White Sox after a big win last night, getting 143. Think they have a chance. Green and against Hendricks. The Reds and the Angels. Kind of like the Reds, like 125. Maybe the Reds looking at a sweep. Guardians and Diamondbacks, Rodriguez and Beebe. I like the Indians again as a small dog at plus 109. And in game one of the game, I think the Cubs season's on the line with their ace on the mound against Patrick. Only laying 146. Brewers red hot. Winners of 15 of 16. Hard to bet against them. You're getting a nice price at 133 with the Brewers. But I'm going to lean and take Boyd in game one and then come back probably and take the Brewers as they split. But big game for the Cubs, especially because I think their chance of the division is on the line right now in this series. If they don't get at least 3 out of 4, I think they're done. So that's it for baseball and everybody. We will be back with you next week after our big preseason game, a little bit of college football. And we start seeing by that Tuesday that I do this Monday, I think we might start seeing roster cuts. So we'll be able to see. I think Tuesday at 4 o'clock is when the final rosters are done, or maybe Thursday. I'm not sure, but we'll start seeing guys cuts coming. And my sleeper cut might be Singletary. I don't want to see it, but I've liked the player, I always have. But I just think what I'm seeing out of Turbo Miller, that he could be a cap casualty, a roster casualty. Until next time. Go Big Blue. Things are looking up. Keep the faith. Season starts in 3 weeks when we get to the Commanders in Washington. Can't wait.